I mean, first off, thank you, 3. They were talking about a lot of really fun, unique Pokemon over in the lounge. What if I told you that there was still some more unique fun picks out there?
What do you got? What do you got?
I mean, have you heard of a Pokemon called Camerupt?
I have not heard of that.
9 going into our win-in to make it to day 2 is going to be Nathan Ortiz going up against Joshua Lorcy. As you can see on the screen, it is 0-1. Because of a team sheet error, there is a game loss going up against Lorcy. So Nathan is going to be starting off this set with a game advantage. So one to close it out into day 2.
The 4 that I would think so, but yeah, there's Mousehold plus the Oranguru, and there's Arcanine Golden Go. So pressuring with Trick Room with Follow Me immediately or U-turn, and then going with like the Snarl Make It Rain combo that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and the fact that there is this capability of trying to be able to go for this Trick Room on the very first turn here coming out from Nathan's end, I mean, gives really good idea of what we could be seeing in the back for his team.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think Nathan decided to go with Oranguru over Mimikyu, and for good reason, right? Because the Mimikyu is weak to Make It Rain from the Golden Go, and so Nathan recognizes, okay, if Joshua leads with Arcanine and Golden Go, well, he can just go for Snarl, Make It Rain. It would force Mimikyu to Terra. It's a Steel Terra defensively to get around it. Here, as a result, by not going for that, you know, much better position. So the main thing about Mousehold Oranguru, it's very passive as a lead, right? But the Mousehold here does have U-turn, so you have the ability to potentially pivot out immediately and then get that free switch into one of your attackers.
Start things off, it will be the Snarl, just drop the special attack going over onto the other item. That little bit of chip damage onto both of the Pokemon as the Golden Go sets up going for the Nasty Plot. This is going to raise the special attack by 2 stages, try and set it for next turn. The U-turn you're talking about, just the slightest of damage, just a ickle, but this is most importantly going to be able to give this pivot option now for Nathan to bring in potentially one of those sweepers paired
What
up
is it
next
going to be?
the
Show me Camerupt! Show me Camerupt! Come on!
Speak it into existence.
If it's not Camerupt, I mean, you would think it's maybe a Abomasnow, but Abomasnow is awkward to bring out here, honestly. I do think it's tricky because no matter what you bring out, it's like one Pokemon can protect and the other can like go for an attack, right? This is Water Terra Golden Go as well, so even if you bring out Camerupt, you could go for example, Fire Terra Eruption and then go for Instruct as well, get 2 Eruptions off, and Camerupt is out! It has hit the field!
Camerupt! Round 9 here in Knoxville as the Trick Room to set up, switch the dimensions up, give this camera a platform, a place to shine.
So I think now it's interesting because this Golden Go is a defensive one with leftovers, and it's got the Water Terra. So what you could do here is, for example, potentially go for Snarl plus Protect, right? And just try to decrease Camerup's damage output a little bit. And so yeah, that's exactly what Josh was considering here. You could also straight up just go for the Water Terra immediately, but I think you still have to be kind of scared about how much damage Camerupt can go for. Camerupt here could make the read, right? Be like, oh, you're protecting Golden Go here, and just like Earth Power Arcanine, use Instruct with the Oranguru, get another Earth Power off potentially, right? And so that would definitely be, you know, a strong turn, but then this Camerupt actually is choice spec, so if you commit to that, for example, then you have to click Earth Power the next turn or switch out, and that makes things a little bit awkward. And so, yeah, I think Joshua really going with the best lead possible, and I like Nathan's lead as well, and so I feel like both players are playing this exactly how they need to so far. But now the question is, can Joshua stall out Trick Room?
As the Terastallization comes out onto the Camerupt, no defensive one here. It is all about that fire type, giving a little idea of maybe we're just going for some of that big damage that Camerupt could potentially be known for. Golden Go not going to be affected whatsoever, due in part to that Protect as that Eruption comes out. Golden Go is safe. We'll have to see how much it can do to the Arcanine, considering this will be resisted hit. I mean, it's the choice specs, it is the Fire Terra, and that is a lot of damage.
And there's the Instruct to get another Eruption off, and we know how much that first one did. That honestly did even more than I expected. And so Eruption here, of course, going into the Protect, but that Arcanine is done for.
Yeah, I would be absolutely terrified for any Pokemon that's now going to have to take the field and slot of that freshly KO'd Arcanine, because that Camerupt, that damage is absolutely no joke. Sure, Golden Go was good for this turn to be able to make it by, but still painful. Iron Hands, though, and potential of a Fake Out is definitely a way to maybe limit.
Yeah, and you know what's huge here is this is the choice specs Camerupt, right? So you can't actually bypass this Fake Out right now. So even though that Arcanine went down, I like Joshua's play there, and now you get the free Fake Out into the Camerupt slot. So the question is, do you actually want Camerupt to eat up this attack, right? Like, you might want to consider switching it out. Could go back out into the Mousehold basically purely to sacrifice it, and there's the switch.
Camerupt, I mean, right in the back, especially too when you're locked into that Eruption, you want to take that damage because you're just going to be doing less going on forward. So Mousehold gladly going to be taking the field. Takes just a little bit of chip from the fake out, and now Encore coming out from the Oranguru, locking that Iron Hands into the worst of attacks here. And Shadow Ball, of course, targeted into the Mousehold slot. Not going to do anything due to part of being a normal type.
You know, well, I mean, first of all, that Encore looked fantastic. The one awkward thing there is I think you're actually kind of hoping for the Make It Rain to come out there, because then you would just get a free switch in back into camera up. Actually, if I think that were to happen, right, you just get another knockout and then snowball so quickly. But now Nathan's actually stuck in this position where there is Mousehold and Oranguru out. Neither of these Pokemon really do very much damage. Now, we know that the Mousehold actually does have Population Bomb, so you can do a little bit of damage. It's Wide Lens, but with Friend Guard, right? So you're not necessarily going to be getting up knockouts. But yeah, the game state's actually in a pretty interesting position right now. Iron Hands obviously being locked into that fake out, kind of forced to switch out as Amoonguss is the final Pokemon. This Pokemon actually can get some spores off.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I don't want to get sports up on Nathan's side, but a couple Pokemon definitely can be falling victim to that. It will be a Follow Me from Mousehold, but the freshly swapped in Amoonguss instantly taunted. That's going to be limiting what it can do. The Golden Goat going to take advantage of this situation and just go for the nasty plot.
Oh man, Joshua's response here is so smart. He's like, okay, look, you only have one attacker right now, it's Camera Up, right? And so by using this fake out pressure, he's essentially only allowed Camera Up to get one attack off. And I think this is exactly how you need to play to stall out Trick Room, right? Don't actually get these free knockouts and let Camera Up come back in safely. Basically force Nathan to make the switch, and Nathan there, by going for Follow Me rather than hard switching out the Mousehold, gets punished heavily for it. And from Nathan's perspective, you don't really feel comfortable switching out, right? Because what if Joshua just clicks Make It Rain? But this game has turned so interesting, and I think now this Golden Goal obviously looking like such a major threat, and there's not that much Nathan can do in response, at least this turn.
Yeah, especially too, you have to imagine that the Amoonguss not wanting to stay on the field is just going to be swapped out, bringing in a potential fake out pressure for whatever is in the Mousehold slot on the other end. So sure enough, Amoonguss to the back, and Iron Hands going to be rejoining the party out on the field. Taunted as well though, but of course that's not going to matter. Just making sure that slot's going to be in. The Population Bomb from the Mousehold. I mean, it's not doing as much as we've gotten to see it do in Series 1, but it's still going to do a decent little chunk of damage.
Yeah, definitely not bad. It looks like it's doing around 13 damage per hit, and so yeah, you know, gets Iron Hands down to under 50%. So it's a good count to know. Another nasty plot comes out. Joshua saying, I am not giving you your free switch-ins. Trick Room now is over. Golden Goat has so many increased stages of special attack. I think it might be finally time to see some Make It Rains come out. And so that's 3 nasty plots coming out from the Golden Goat throughout the course of this battle. I think Joshua's played this so well, right? It looked so scary once the camera came out and got the knockout, but that single fake out pressure from Iron Hands allowed Joshua to basically force the switch out, and from Nathan's end, he never really felt confident switching the camera back in, and so Joshua has basically made the right call with Golden Go pretty consistently, and Golden Go now is in a position to really sweep.
Yeah, and looking on paper too, I mean, Golden Go does not look nice up against the camera. That looks absolutely terrifying, but still, Joshua finding the way to make sure that these nasty plots can go so that this Make It Rain could be so impactful in this situation. Oranguru is going to be swapping out as Amoonguss joins the field as well. Abomasnow as a 4th and final Pokemon. It's definitely not going to appreciate what's about to happen on the other side of the field. The Mousehold as well, that's going to be a protect to make sure that the Make It Rain cannot have the impact that it needs to into that slot. At least with hitting to Make It Rain, it will be the special attack dropped a little bit after this turn, but you are losing that Abomasnow right away.
Yeah, I guess the idea here maybe is like you sacrifice Abomasnow and now like the Golden goes at, you know, +5 rather than +6, so then you can maybe
There's a big difference.
Like the idea is maybe now you can go into Camera Up and go for, say, like a Follow Me into a Heat Wave, try to pick up a double knockout that way. So one of my questions here is actually how fast is the Camera Up relative to Amoonguss, right? Like, are they both min speed, for example? Because if the Amoonguss were actually slower than Camera Up here, which I wouldn't expect, but if it were, then the Camera Up actually could potentially get a double knockout, and maybe that's your path to victory. But yeah, fundamentally, oh, Nathan actually does go back into Oranguru though. Okay, so yeah, I guess the idea here is maybe just hope that you can survive the Make It Rain, you know, and
it's still a lot of damage at the +5.
And like, if you survive, actually, maybe there's a shot, but I don't know. I think Amoonguss here does have access to that Leaf Storm as well, and so I feel like Make It Rain plus Leaf Storm here is just generally really safe. And there are different places you could consider. You know that the mouse will just protect it as well. You can also just Spore, honestly, into the Oranguru slot since the Terra's already been committed from Oranguru earlier, and it's, yeah, Mentorb as well. And so, yeah, I think the Golden Goal is just so well protected, right? That's why going into this set, I was like, okay, Golden Goal is going to be really important, and the way Joshua played with it was just absolutely phenomenal here. And yeah, Make It Rain at this point is just looking so powerful. Oh, the double though!
Protect. Okay, so Mousehold going to be surviving on at least one more turn here as Make It Rain, yet again, only going to go into Mousehold's partner Pokemon. So the Oranguru, I mean, +5, it's now +4, but still easy KO at that point.
Yeah, and with Mousehold, you know, getting double protect now, you have the potential to, you could of course just go for another one, but I think like Joshua hasn't even gone for a Terra yet, and it is that Water Terra on the Golden Goal. So now you can just go for Water Terra, click Make It Rain, and Amoonguss can go for Spore into Camera Up. And so, yeah, I think this game kind of boiled down to how does Joshua respond to the Golden Go, and or sorry, how does Nathan respond to the Golden Go? And for Joshua, he just had the conviction to keep clicking Nasty Plot, and what Nathan needed to do to accelerate the battle was just hard switch back on a Camera Up. It's risky, but Joshua basically just took full advantage of the fact that Nathan was hoping he would KO his Pokemon.
Yeah, and such a tricky situation too. I mean, when you're not being able to take advantage of that Trick Room like you want to, because Nathan got that up relatively easily, but then wasn't able to do really anything with it too much. There was the one big hit, and that was about it. So really well done on Joshua's end to be able to play on through that, make the dimension go back into normal, and position this Golden Go up perfectly. Now with the water terrestrialization, I mean, the normal Golden Go wouldn't appreciate any fire moves, but this one, I mean, it's looking good as gold right about now. An attempt for a triple. It ain't gonna be this time around, as now the third Make It Rain comes out. Camera Up will survive, but Mousehold, there's no chance there.
Yeah, you know, definitely got a couple of extra turns than probably we would have expected, but what this kind of boiled down to is how do you actually beat Golden Go once the Trick Room is over and there's just no real answer. I think in general, Water Terra Golden Go is pretty difficult to deal with, right? Like the Abomasnow here does have Life Orb, Energy Ball, and Earth Power, so you do have ways to hit Golden Go for super effective damage, but in this game, Nathan had to basically sacrifice it and get no value out of it, and so, yeah, I really, really like how, honestly, both players approach this game. I think the main thing is kind of getting the guessing game correct. Like, do you think Josh was going to click Make It Rain at any point? I think since the Camera Up had gone into Fire Terror, it was probably pretty safe to at some point switch the Camera Up in for the Oranguru slot while having the Mousehold for protection. And yeah, I think in this game, basically Nathan just lost way too many turns of his Trick Room after the Iron Hands came out, forced it out, and then just never got Camera Up out again during Trick Room.
But still such a good job from Joshua to take us now into this game 3 with both players trying to fight for their spot to make it onto the day 2. So many people competing here. I think 7-2 is going to be that only safe record to be able to do it at. So it is really a now or never situation.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting in terms of adjustments because I felt like both players essentially brought the best tools in this matchup. Like, I'm not sure you really need to change your Pokemon. I think if you're Nathan, you can look at that game and be like, okay, you know what? I just played way too passive on like the mid game to the end game while I had Trick Room up. So maybe I just need to have a little bit more conviction switching in the Camera Up immediately. And I think for Lorcy, essentially made what felt like the safest play for most of the early game. What the tough thing is, with Golden Go, do you try to make a read then? Like, I could see this game playing out in the exact same way in the early game, and then in the mid game, it just kind of comes down to Joshua maybe goes for a read and goes for a Shadow Ball onto even something like Mousehold predicting Camera Up to switch in. But I think the 4 Pokemon Joshua brought are easily the best 4. I think if you don't have the Iron Hands, for example, in that game, you actually just get rolled over really quickly by Camera Up. And for Nathan's end, I think you could maybe switch up the Oranguru and bring, for example, the Mimikyu instead. But otherwise, it's like Brute Bonnet, is that really good here? Like, there's Golden Go, Amoonguss, Safety Goggles, Arcanine on the opposing end. Like, you're not really going to get any spores off, right? So I don't really think Brute Bonnet makes that much sense. And then it's like, I don't think you're going to bring both of your Trick Room users. You could actually, the one fun thing about bringing both Trick Room users is if you're in the mid game and you're expecting Joshua to like go for double protect, you can click Trick Room with both Pokemon to reset it and then set it up again. So there is like a world in which maybe you drop Mousehold for it, but otherwise I think you need Abomasnow and Camera Up offensively in this matchup.
Leaving Mousehold at home, though, feels also just really bad when you're looking for something like that Friend Guard to make your way on through. So it is going to be making an appearance yet again in this Game 3 next to that Oranguru. So sticking with the same Trick Room setter this time around, and it's going to be same leads for both individuals. I mean, Joshua, that Golden Go, and that Arcanine, it worked out so well in Game 1.
Yeah, exactly. So wouldn't be too surprised to see things play out in a similar manner. I think, right now you see the consideration to maybe just switch out the Arcanine. So what's really interesting here is, like, you could just hard switch Arcanine into Iron Hands. I think Arcanine's Snarl isn't as valuable here, so if you pivot out into Iron Hands and then Nathan U-turns out into Camera Up, the next turn you can just fake out the Camera Up slot, right? And so this fake out is actually applying so much pressure. If Nathan had something like an NDD for Psychic Terrain, you know, it would make things a lot easier, but I like the decision to not even bother Snarling, because it's like, the idea behind this lead is if you had Mimikyu, you could break Disguise, but Mimikyu doesn't exist right now. Snarl doesn't really matter against either of these Pokemon, so I like the decision to just straight up go into Iron Hands. But you do risk something like a Population Bomb into a... Okay, there's a nasty plot. I was going to say, Population Bomb, Instruct Population Bomb onto the Iron Hand slot. That would be nuts, but it's just U-turn.
I know, the Population Bomb like that many times would be... We're not going to maybe see it yet, at least not today, as U-turn. That's going to be bringing something out in the back. The first game, we did get to see that it was the rep, but instead the Brute Bonnet coming out. Oh, right. That's definitely a big adjustment. The Orangaru's still going to go ahead and set up that Trick Room, but this should be fun. I mean, Brute Bonnet, it's one of those Pokemon that sometimes it just absolutely pops off.
Yeah, you know, earlier I was like, I don't really see too much reason to bring it, but I think basically Nathan's argument for it, which is actually a really solid argument, is like Brute Bonnet does have a super effective Crunch and a Golden Go. And if Golden Go goes for Water Terra, you have a super effective Bullet Seed. So the idea is, okay, I can't Spore you, but I can at least get super effective damage into you no matter what you are. The tough thing is you still have to call it, right? Like, let's say you end up crunching and then Golden Go just goes for Water Terra, then that turn you don't get the Bullet Seed off. And with Joshua having the Arcanine as well, you're able to just cycle in and get that Intimidate immediately as well. So I like the adjustment by Nathan's end, but the question is how much value can you actually get from it? This Water Terra Nasty Plot's just really tough to deal with, but I like this, the decision to just switch out immediately back into the Mouse Hole.
A little bit of a pivoting game, not going to be able to quite utilize the Trick Room, but the double pivot to make sure that when you can make use of something, you're going to get the most maximum value as Camera Up also going to be hitting the field next to that Mouse Hole. Fake out, I mean, it's just going to be the chip. We've gotten to see this before. And now the Make It Rain. The Mouse Hole now, it's going to be KO'd. That's a free swap with the critical hit for Nathan. That's going to lower the special attack, and Camera Up still looking fairly healthy. Yeah,
I think for Joshua's end, that was just a really safe play, right? Like, the Golden Go really wasn't threatened by anything other than the Brute Bonnet. So the idea is, okay, Nathan's Brute Bonnet doesn't even have Protect, so it's a guaranteed fake out into Make It Rain there, and there's not really much you can do. I think maybe Nathan was hoping for Joshua to play a little bit more passive there, but that ends up being a great turn for Joshua, right? You get the knockout, Golden Go is still decently well protected, and critically, Joshua did not commit the Terra to the Golden Go yet, right? So even if Brute Bonnet comes out, the Iron Hands, of course, could just pivot back out into the Arcanine, and so Brute Bonnet is back out. Now, you do pressure with, you know, like, for example, Crunch or Spore into Iron Hands plus, like, a Heat Wave. You could go for Crunch onto Golden Go and an Earth Power onto that. You could Earth Power into the Iron Hand slot. So there's a lot of offense coming out from Nathan's end this turn, but, you know, he has to really accelerate the pace of the battle right now. And kind of the issue that he ran into in the previous game was that, like, he just didn't get enough out of his Trick Room turns. And right now he has his best two attackers out on the field, so it's time to go.
Yeah, it's nice to see the way that the Golden Go can be pressured, because of the last game, too, we got to see that it kind of got to do whatever it wanted. It never really felt like it was too much in danger. And as soon as it was faced off against the Camera Up, I mean, it could just go for the Terastallization. But now you have this Brute Bonnet with the Bullet Seed, and you have the Camera Up in front. So either way, whether you Terastallize or not, there is the potential of something super effective coming your way. And Golden Go definitely not appreciate that. Arcanine on the other end, at least a way to be able to slow down the Brute Bonnet just a little bit with this Intimidate.
We know, I think the Golden Go is going for the Terra though, so do you think Nathan went for the read here and went for Bullet Seed? I feel like if not, this game is going to accelerate in Joshua's favor very, very quickly, but it's going to be the Fire Terra from Camera Up to start.
Yeah, make sure that the most damage can be done. I mean, we got to see already just how much, even just an Eruption to do an Arcanine. Like, this Camera Up is definitely hitting for a good amount with that Terastallization. Both trainers, though, we got to see it will be the Terastallization from the Golden Go. Anything that Camera Up throws its way isn't going to be doing the most. It will just be the question of what Nathan decided to do with that Brute Bonnet, that big changed up going into this game. It'll be the Heat Wave now. Neither Pokemon is going to be affected too much by this hit, but the burn, that will be a little bit of chip damage going on each turn. But the Spore into the other slot, the Arcanine with the safety goggles takes that all day. And now the Shadow Ball, that is still going to be doing a lot of damage to pick up the KO on the camera.
Oh, what a play there. I think essentially Nathan was probably hoping for, the Arcanine switch, or sorry, the Iron Hands to just stay in and maybe for Golden Go to play a little bit passive. And so, there was actually the potential for Brute Bonnet to go for Bullet Seed on a Golden Go. It is loaded dice, Brute Bonnet, so I'm very curious how that would have looked given the Intimidate onto the Brute Bonnet. If you get 4 hits, is that a guaranteed knockout onto the Golden Go? But Joshua's been playing a fantastic game. I feel like he's been making basically the best play possible every turn, and now you're down to a -1 attack Brute Bonnet with the Oranguru, and that safety goggles on Arcanine alone, that was part of the reason why initially I was like, okay, I don't really know how I feel about Brute Bonnet in this matchup. It actually makes a ton of sense, but from Nathan's end, essentially, it feels like the matchup isn't good for him, so, you have to make some big plays and hopefully go in your favor, and so far it's not been the case, and I think it's going to be really difficult to come back now with just Oranguru and Brute Bonnet, especially with this Intimidate on Brute Bonnet, and there's still 4 Pokemon on Joshua's side as well, and Water Terror, Golden Gold, Nasty Plot leftovers, that's like a nightmare set to run into for Camera Up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the camera up definitely tried, but this Golden Go has just been a consistent thorn in the side of Nathan at this point, and missing the opportunity to try and deal with it with the Brute Bonnet. I mean, now can just run it through the field. Arcanine swapping it out. That'll be the Iron Hands yet again coming out as Golden Go just goes for the Protect this time around. Just wait out, see what happens. The Spore, that is going to land this time, calling the swap and put the Iron Hands to sleep.
Yeah, get the sleep there, and it's a nice read, but at the same time, there's still Arcanine just waiting to come back in, where I can further intimidate Brute Bonnet, and Trick Room is, about to expire as well, and there's safety goggles on the Arcanine. There's still an Amoonguss, by the way, waiting in the back to come out and just Pollen Puff. Pollen Puff, by the way, also valuable damage into Brute Bonnet, so I really don't see a very clear path towards victory here for Nathan's end, I think, because I mean, maybe it's that last turn was, I guess, the start, right? You at least get the sleep onto the Iron Hands, but I just don't really see how you deal enough damage at this point. You do have Instruct, which is nice, but yeah, Arcanine is such a safe pivot in right now. Get another Intimidate off. Maybe if you get Crunch, Defense Drop, or Critical Hit into Instruct, Crunch, KO the Arcanine, then there's something, but it's still really tough.
Hey, you gotta play to the outs. This is game 3 with day 2 on the line at this point. I mean, if there's any out that you could go for, I mean, you just gotta go for it. But still, so many tools over on Lorcy's end, and we're gonna see another one as that Golden Go switching out, bringing the Amoonguss back out onto the field, pairing off against its Paradox counterpart, and it's gonna take this Bullet Seed so well.
That first Bullet Seed, that second one, they both did 4 damage. 4.
Yeah,
not 5, not 6, 4.
Yeah, it's there was a lot of damage coming out. Hit 4 times, and
oh, okay, we got an Instruct at least.
We're gonna see 4 to 5 more. Let's go. This is stacking up. This is doing a lot.
Yeah, I think maybe 10 more of those and Amoonguss will go down. I think at this point Nathan's just doing everything in his power, right? And you're hoping for Joshua to essentially mess up. And so if the Golden Goat actually stayed in there, maybe this gets the knockout. But yeah, that's 2 sets of Bullet Seeds, and that did, I believe, 33 damage total, which is, at this point you're kind of just waiting for Iron Hands to wake up. And for Joshua, all you have to do is play it safe, right? You already got in multiple Intimidates off onto Brute Bonnet. You're just kind of waiting to wake up at this point as well. And Brute Bonnet here does not have recovery, and a Oranguru can't really heal up the Brute Bonnet as well. And so Iron Hands does manage to wake up, will get that super effective close combat off onto the Brute Bonnet, and that's almost just a 1-hit KO in itself.
Yeah, and the fact that the Amoonguss will be able to follow up with Pollen Puff, I mean, it's such a tough situation. Instruct is going to fire, so we're going to see another round of those Bullet Seeds, baby!
Yep, still doing 4 per hit. I don't think anything's going to really change here, but I don't think this is going to be a world record for the number of times Amoonguss has eaten Bullet Seed.
The critical hit!
Okay. We've done 60 points. Okay, now it's gonna. Ooh, okay.
The back-to-back critical hits. All right.
Doesn't really make a difference.
No,
but
it's fun.
Yeah, it's amusing to see. I think part of why this endgame was also going to be basically impossible for Nathan is because he doesn't have Protect on either Pokemon, and not having Protect on Brute Bonnet is basically disaster. Another crit just for a little. Go out with style, but yeah, Pollen Puff.
Literally go out in style. It's your last stand as that Pollen Puff. That's super, super effective. It had to do so little damage, gonna take it out. And now the Oranguru, all by its lonesome. It does not have a way to attack. It's done.
That's it, yeah. I mean, I think this game essentially boiled down to, can you predict the Golden Go turn correctly, right? I think Nathan has to make a big read, and if Bullet Seed went into the Golden Go slot that turn,
Go out in style,
yeah,
right?
I like it. It instruct onto the Iron Hands in close combat. We'll finish it off.
No,
Oh, it will finish it off.
We're leaving the honor of this one for the Amoonguss, all right? It'll be that last and final pollen puff to finish the KO. Take the Oranguru out for Joshua Lorcy to stamp his ticket into day 2 here in Knoxville.
Oh, Nathan, congratulations on an amazing run for bringing one of the most creative teams I think we've seen all day.